Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another video. I'm going to be playing with my Gate Guardian deck again in a custom duel because I want to finally showcase at least all the cards that I've created I will be utilizing in this duel, as well as some cards you might not be familiar with. And starting off is me as I go first, and I'll use Jirai Gumo's effect by pitching Satan from my hand. Special summoning Jirai Gumo to use effect to search for any Labyrinth or Guardian card from my deck, graveyard, or band zone to my hand. And although that just seems like a crazy search, so he is going to chain with Valor. I do minus with this effect, so it's kind of similar to the Tri Brigade or the Spriggan's kit. So I'll play Bountiful Charity. I draw 5 cards, and I discard 3 from my hand. I pay 1,000. And then I'll use the effect of Guardian Labyrinth. Use effect, special summon Kaze. Kaze's effect allows me to summon from grave. This Link Sky Blaster. Link Sky Blaster's effect activates. I special summon 2 tokens up to the number of monsters in my graveyard. And then I'll tribute Kaze to search for a trap, which is infinite permanence, and I'll play another Guardian Labyrinth. What's interesting about the Guardian Labyrinth is the first effect is a once per turn, but not a hard once per turn. For those who are who have knowledge in the game, who kind of like have possibly read the rulings or have done some research, or are aware of how once per turn effects work, you should be aware of it now. So in Sangha, since when he's summoned, I can special summon a monster from my hand to the field. So I'll be special summoning the Tuna monster Score Sky Blaster. Sanga's other effect will activate, tributing it, allowing me to search for a monster from my deck, which is Guardian Labyrinth Tank. Guardian Labyrinth Tank's effect will activate, discarding it, allowing me to search for a Labyrinth or Guardian card from my deck. And then I'll activate Labyrinth Maze. This is the card I want to reveal actually, because it has a very unique effect. It isn't too busted, and also on top of that, you can treat it as a level 4 rock type effect monster, which can come in handy in case you want to immediately go into a Link Summon. So the reason behind the first effect, I'm trying to relate it to the Labyrinth, where the Paradox brothers faced off against Joey and Yugi, and where they kind of had to like limit themselves from having the monsters fight amongst each other, as long as they're depending on which side of the maze they were in, while they're like traveling into the labyrinth, while walking through the maze. If you guys get what I mean. For those who are close to the nostalgia, you should be well aware. So, and thanks to Pseudo Kotaka, I'm about to special summon 2 monsters from my grave. But my opponent is supposed to summon any number of monsters. He does have the option, but I think he refused to do so. But at the same time, I should have reminded him what his effect is capable of. But I'm gonna Link Summon from here on out, as you see what's gonna happen right now. So good thing I limited Pseudo Kotaka. If it was a 3, this card would be way too unbalanced. The card would be too degenerate, and people would most likely try to place more than 1 copy and then abuse the special summon effect. So, especially if you can access it and utilize it more than once per turn, then it is a problem. So it's better to limit it to 1 so that you don't abuse the full extent of this card. So continue forward, I'm going to go into Boreal Savage Dragon, targeting Link Spider to build my negates. And I'll special summon Labyrinth. That maze, like I mentioned, it can be treated as an effect monster. And I'll link using Pseudo Kotaker as well as Labyrinth Maze to go into Appaloosa 1-2. And then I'll set 2 and pass it to my opponent. And I'll use Guardian Jirai Gumo's effect and chain with Tank. No, my mistake. I chain with Jirai Gumo first, be after activating Tank's effect, so it will return during the end phase to my hand because I control a Guardian or Labyrinth face up on the field. As I'm showing the effect of my card to my opponents to make him understand that the play is legal, which it is. It shouldn't be too difficult to understand because you just gotta be sure to read the card carefully. Alright, which is cool. Let's fast forward here. This is where things get hefty in this duel because we go back and forth arguing to make sure whether this play is legal or not, and I did have a response. But apparently because I missed timing, I do not get the response. So it does become a feud between us because one of us wants to resolve our cards as well as one of us wants to keep our field like remaining for the effects to resolve in order to get things straightforward here, and to address like I do have a response and that my field is safe because my opponent's trying to clear my board, even though I chained with Lightning Storm with Savage Dragon, and then he uses Forbidden Droplet, and I chain with Dark Labyrinth. I tell him unless he has a trap that he can send with Droplet's effect, then yeah, then I wouldn't be. Then his Lightning Storm will be able to hit my field. Because I am trying to let him know that I'm not salty. That I'm trying to confirm that if he has a trap, then yes, he can destroy my, he can break my board. But I'm trying to make sure things here are straightforward. That I don't just outright like lose my field without having to get an opportunity to respond, and ensuring that the card is legal and that I have a chance to actually protect my board. So I'm letting him know if I do have a response, my field does remain the way it is right now. But depending on apparently because the card text and the wording of Dark Labyrinth, apparently it misses timing. So basically we've been going at it for 5-10 minutes, arguing to basically clear things up because I'm trying to keep my field on board. I'm trying to keep my monsters. I'm trying to have my monsters remain on the field and ensure that I did manage to negate his other card effect, even while he continues the chain link, and that I was going to end the chain link with Dark Labyrinth. But unless he had a response, unless he can manage to send a trap with Forbidden Droplet, then yes, I can assure that then he would have wiped my field for sure, and that I would be able to proceed with the duel as well as having to lose my entire board. But because of the rulings and because of how my card is worded, the trap does miss timing. So he did show me the rulings, so I have to approve, and they do not target as well. And he still had more targets to select, so he's selecting up to 3. So he did send Storm even though it was face up, and so basically how Droplet works that you can send a face up card even while it's activated. So although I could fix a card text, but at the same time it does balance it out. So the entire field that I worked so hard building just became a waste. He managed. I give him credit. He managed to get rid of it. But I don't want to make Dark Labyrinth as broken as it already is, because it would just make the card too unfair and too unbalanced, and the card itself wouldn't be a fun card to play against it, and it would give people a reason to just basically rage quit. So, but it is not. But the good thing is I don't forfeit this duel because of the floodgates that I have, the continuous spells and traps keeping me alive, and so I'm already comfortable with what I have remaining. And this card is going to come in handy. This is going to be the most effective as you see what's going to happen in this turn. So I'm going to play Maxi Challenge. So not just me. So we have the dual auction in case. Each time a player special summons a monster, both player draws a card. But unless their hand is at 6, then they cannot draw afterwards. So it limits us to 6 cards in our hand. But it's the fact that we constantly keep drawing cards until we have 6 cards in it. But if you just set a card in the field, if you manage to summon something and place it on the field, then you can the effects. Then you can still keep drawing as long as you make sure to pitch your hand. So let us continue. So my opponent is waiting for me to proceed. So every time I special monster, we each draw a card. But as long as we can try to get rid of a card from hand, like whether it's pitching, special summoning, or setting, the effect will resolve. It will be able to resolve. It will be able to trigger itself. It will be able to activate till the remainder of this turn. As long as my turn ends, then yes. Then I won't be able to resolve it afterwards. And it will just keep going, so it will continue until I end my turn. But then I'll use Sui's effect. As you see what's gonna happen right now. Special Summon Kaze, we both draw a card. I draw onto another Maxi challenge, and I haven't got to its graveyard effect, although it's not gonna occur this turn because it's already been sent to the graveyard. And then I'll be able to activate Paradox Guardian Gate, which happens to be the key card of this deck, allowing us to draw even more cards during our draw phase, as well as specially summoning any monster in our grave or banish them with a different attribute depending on the monster that we banished, based on the names that are mentioned. So let's continue. Use Link Sky Blast's effect. And then because I special summoned Kaze, so my opponent can't draw since he has 6 cards in hand. So like I said, although it doesn't really balance, the card itself isn't too balanced. It ensures that we don't keep drawing to the point where things get very out of hand. So although the card itself isn't balanced, it makes the game more interesting because, to be real, the people want to see unique effects. Personally, I would say Maxi is basically more broken than Maxi Challenge because Maxi, it only benefits the player who discards Maxi. But looking at it right now is like, this ensures that both players get a chance to draw a card, not just you. Especially the player who activates the card. So not only you're drawing, your opponent has a chance to draw well, even if they may eventually draw the out. Especially whether it's a hand trap that we might see. It could be a Nibiru, Ash Boss, an Infinite Permanence, a Ghost Spell, whatever. Drone Lockbird. If he drew into Drone Lockbird for sure, then it would definitely cancel Maxi Challenge. And then, although you managed to draw before the player activates Drone Lockbird, once Drone Lockbird resolves, then Maxi Challenge effect is cancelled out. And it applies to both players, so that's the only way to actually hinder this card. But again, I'll admit it is a very busted card because it helps the player keep going. Because not only are you special summoning monsters, your opponent is as well. And it applies to both players special summoning monsters on the field. So anytime either player special summons a monster, both players draw a card. As you already look at my field, or you already look at my hand, I'm like, I have so much that I can do right now. That really helps. So he claims that he's lagging as to why he's why he couldn't be able, why he was a little bit slow when chaining with Nibiru or when activating Nibiru, since Nibiru can activate during the main phase. And on top of that, like, I'll admit I did special summon a normal summon more than 5 times, so he has a legit reason to use Nibiru's effect, because it could have been endgame for him. So, but since I control either a Guardian or a Labyrinth card on my field, I'm not supposed to summon Shadow Ghoul for free. And because of Max C challenge in effect, I draw a card as well as my opponent. But I think it definitely hurts my opponent the most, even though they have 6 cards in hand. That's only if they're able to activate the cards during my turn, which really you possibly can't as long as they're a hand trap. But like at the same time, it's like it's helping you the most rather than your opponent, because it's during your turn that you want to activate it. But it is a quick effect, so you may be able to, if you activate during your opponent's turn, it can also help them as well the most, because they're building their offense as well as you got to find a way to build your defense as much as possible to ensure that they don't start clobbering you or possibly putting the hammer on you and basically putting you at a bigger disadvantage, because the card puts you at a bigger disadvantage if you activated Maxi Challenge during your opponent's turn, because the only way you can figure out to get around Maxi Challenge during your opponent's turn, as long as you manage to set up your entire board, or not even entire board, as big as board as possible, to make sure that like it doesn't conflict with your deck, and that you possibly have enough hand traps, you have enough spell trap cards set on the field, like Omni Negates, Disruptions, anything to ensure that you can keep yourself at a good pace, as well as drawing multiple cards. And again, I'll be activating Labyrinth Maze. But again, I should explain. So yeah, to special summon the Dark Gate Guardian, I'm not sure if I mentioned this. You have to have Sangha of the Thunder, Kazujin, Sujin, whether in their hand, field, or graveyard. And since these cards are treated as those monsters, their names are treated as monsters, that's how I managed to access him and fusion summon him from my deck to the field. And I'll try not to be too slow. I'm going to go to 90 Fricks, although he has no targets. And from here on out, it's going to be game, as you see what's going to happen right now. So this will be game for sure. And I'm letting my opponent read my field spell, so I managed to kill my opponent with Shadow Ghoul, although you might be thinking, how did I defeat Shadow Ghoul with only 2,000 attack? If anything, he gained 500 from the field spell, because he is a guardian monster, because of his guardian name being mentioned from the card frame that you see in the text. So that's how I mentioned him. He had like around, I think he had 2,300, and he assumed that he was going to live with 350, or I mean 2,350, my bad. But overall, I would say overall the archetype is very generic. It's really fun to play and mix with the other archetypes. It can blend in suit so many decks out there that need the upper hand that gives them that extra edge that they need, as well as having to get easy access to a very powerful monster. But in this deck I'm playing 60 cards because I want to be able to gain as much resource, because my deck is already viable the way it is with the amount of special summons I have and retrieving cards from my deck, as well as graveyard, banish zone, and just piling up cards in grave, and just being able to get access to multiple copies of Dark Gate Guardian and be able to hit my opponent even further, just makes it worth playing more than 40. So, but you just have to learn to play around it, because all the mini Gate Guardian pieces, they not only do they allow you to spell some level 4 lower monsters, on top of that you tribute one of them to search either a monster spell trap, regardless of the name or specific monster spell trap. As long as you tribute one of these names, you're able to get any card you need, as long as you play the cards correctly and you follow the card text, as well as enable them to like do a follow-up and be able to get them out on the same turn and combine them to go into Gate Guardian, where if you were to summon these 3 pieces, you would rather have them summon one another and have a follow-up play and beside each other, where that way if things don't go your way, you can always save them for Dark Gate Guardian and try to put your opponent at bay until you you force them to disrupt as many as your like card advantage, card effects, boards, whatever, or like your last ditch effort. Because once you make that last ditch effort, is when you want to save your best for last at the end of the day still. But again, you have to admit this is a very fun competitive duel, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said before, I'll make sure to keep you guys up to date. Be sure, like again, be sure to check for more upcoming content. Be sure to check your notifications, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.